right. It is I, Warrior Junior. He's here. He's wow. Happy what is it? Saturday already? Let me look. Yeah, technically it's already depending. Where Art Bell used to go. It doesn't matter if you're from depending like the good morning, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you are. It could be different for wherever you're from. Um, okay, so before I get to the topic of this one, the narrative, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about, fitness and bodybuilding, for a minute. And I'm going to try not to plug and give attention to some of these clowns, some of these people. It's so amazing that, you know, people have such fragile egos. Bodybuilders generally have whopping egos. I read that in a book. I'm not just making this up. And I could just tell, think about this. If that's all you do, and you're a huge walker, you're strong and you're stronger than 99% of the people on the planet, of course, you're going to think you're not, making any money from it. You got to get something for all your efforts, or else you feel like you're wasting your time. You feel like your life has no purpose. It needs to be compensated or validated somehow. People don't do something for nothing. I heard this reference one time. You go in any gym, there's a million mirrors there's mirrors all around. There's not heart monitors all around, even though fitness for health, but think about it when it comes when women tell other women, "Oh, you look so beautiful." Let's analyze the statement. "Oh, you look so beautiful. You see?" And that's what it is. Why do you think women, they get their hair done, makeup, nails and stuff? That's somebody else. You pay somebody else, they make you, but your body, now they have that. They know they have that, I was gonna say freeze dried. They have the way to freeze off the fat kind of thing. I knew this massage chick, and she was gaining a little weight, so she got self-conscious, I guess, and she said, "Oh, I can go get that done and do that," but then you eat, fried foods or whatever. You don't exercise, you eat fast foods all the time, the weight comes right back. It's what it is. Fitness is a lifestyle, just like bodybuilding is. And the problem that I have with the term bodybuilding, it has been it's always been like that subculture. It's hold on, let me have a sip of tea here. I got a lot to say. I always do, right? This is the lemon ginger tea, and definitely deserving after what I felt like today. Man, stomach is still killing me. Well, not as bad as it was, but so let me talk a little bit about bodybuilding first. It's always been a subculture, and of course Arnold. Arnold made it, in the late '70s, mid '70s. You know, these guys. There were guys that were, before Reg Park and Steve Reeves, whatever, But he really, that was the dawning of, they would call the golden age, I guess. When Arnold came out in Big Lou, that was like, wow, I see these guys, but there were guys before that. But he just really, Joe Weider, and Joe Weider wasn't brand new. People think, oh, in the '70s, that's when Joe Weider started. No, no, no. Joe Weider, if you know anything, he's a master blaster. He's a training champion since 1923. Okay, and that's not an exaggeration, because like that Your Physique magazine, that's when it like came out in in some ridiculous. I read the story. I heard about it. How he pre-sold this magazine before he couldn't even have them printed up. He was able to pre-sell like a couple dozen subscriptions. He took that money to print up the first copies. They were like 10 cents each. It's called Your Physique. Literally, it was in the 20s or something like that. Some ridiculous, turn of the century. You not turn century, but after. But he was a young, and he saw, can you imagine back then? There were no anabolics back then. The people exercise, and it was really about your physique. It wasn't like about your freak. That was bodybuilding. That's real bodybuilding. Like, it's not an incredible. I mean, I guess if you look back, okay, you look at Eugene Sandow, turn of the century, right? Or even into the 20s, still no anabolics. So these people are just moving anything of resistance, to shape a body. That's all you could do. Like it was the pulley system. They had like weights attached like a wall, and the rope, the pulley kind of thing, and the barbells, and the crude dumbbells, whatever. There was a thick handles, just whatever they could to like try to, there's no there's no machines. There's no fucking Arthur Genautilus machines back then. There's nothing, like it was like even into like the 70s or 80s, like you go into like any YMCA, they had the original like pulleys. That's all there was. You try to use it for resistance. Anything that you could somehow get some controlled resistance off of. I mean, leg machines. I mean, you could squat some off. You get the bar on the back. So I mean, that was but even that came later. The power cages and stuff like that. That was disc loading. The dumbbells. Barbells. I'm sorry, you could disc load. I mean, look, you gotta understand. This was a really crude, lifting weights. It's like like they say, the dungeon. It's not. It wasn't a. These places were in the, basements and stuff like that. Bodybuilding contests were in like these, after shows of like these dark, dimly lit, crude type auditoriums after like a strength show or something. Then they get these guys to stand on stage and there was nothing. It wasn't, because it wasn't a spectacle. Now, granted that Eugene Sandow, or whoever, there was some promoter, and they say, Eugene Sandow would do feats of strength, and people watch, they go, whoa, yeah. And then he says, but then the people say, hey, why don't that guy like pose, stand there and show his body, like stand. And you have to understand. I know you look at the guy and you're like, yeah, you don't look like really anything. Nowadays, yeah, they didn't have anabolics back then. You don't understand. For its time, at turn of the century, like 1900 or whatever like that. You look at that guy. That's like Mr. Olympia. I mean, for its time, it's so a guy like that with abs, a decent. He was like 5'9", 185 or whatever like that. If that, he stood up there and just posed. People like, whoa, I know it sounds ridiculous. There is video of it I've seen, because the moving pictures were coming in. The motion pictures were just starting. People like were able to, the advent of the moving picture was starting. So like there is video. I have seen it, like of him on a stage and like 1915 or whatever like that. And he's like posing. And, I know the guy really don't look like nothing by today's standards, but back then it was like, people like that's, the Ronnie Coleman, the of the time, it was unbelievable, I know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's just that's how it is. Now, so what point am I trying to make about this? Well, what happened was around that time of the 70s, of course they already had anabolics. I think it was a German scientist was developing, stuff for race horses. I think so they can run faster, like the mammals, and it worked, like the drugs, the doping. So, they're saying, well, if it work on horses, why wouldn't it work on people? And that's basically the big, the transition when they started to see, guys who start taking stuff. And now you could see the difference. You look at not just the guys that won the Olympia, but like, a really encyclopedia of bodybuilders, going back all the way, to the 20s, 30s. And around the early 50s, I think it was late 40s, early 50s, definitely by the mid 50s for sure, and you would see like guys were kind of like, more glowing up. They had kind of like a more, just like a, just a real blown up type of look. And that's definitely the drugs were coming in. I mean, it's like, look, they had, different types of chemicals, around that time. So, the anabolics were just following along, with it, and guys were taking. And it was kind of like, when you see movies like Pump and Iron, it's more of a documentary, but you see Arnold like going to the jails or whatever, like that, posing, or like Muscle Beach, and he's doing, and people looking, whoa, look at that guy lift weights. They weren't really knowledgeable about, it was just, you're seeing this guy, lift a lot of weights, but you're not seeing the guy what he's tasted. Well, so, and Weeder was really smart about this. He knew, it's like, it's what's going on, and his goal, is he's a businessman, is to make money off of this. So, of course, you're going to take like a guy like that, and he's going to take whatever, designer anabolics they had at the time, which is, it wasn't really anything. I mean, it's whatever, the stuff they had back then. I don't even need to throw out the names, because you can research and look it up for yourself. Um, and then they would say, wow, you want to be like him? Take Weider Mass Gainer 8000. It's basically like, the powder is like, high calorie, you know, some protein, like just sugar, like maltodextrin, and it shows like, Arnold on there, like a Big Lou, whatever, Big Lou Ferrigno, just these guys on there. And I remember I saw a commercial. You could look it up. It was in the '80s. It was Lee Haney, and it's funny. It's like, it says mass, and you see like a church, like with people, and they go, no, 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 that's not the kind of mass I'm talking about. And it shows like Lee Haney. He does like a pose of bike and goes, that's what it is. That's what, and he's like huge, Lee Haney in this. And it's commercials for like Mega Mass 8000. It's a giant bag. It's a maltodextrin. there's some protein powder, but no, and that's the cell. That's the I'm laughing because it's true. So every fucking buddy watching this, including yours truly, saw this, right? And we're like, whoa. He said, you want it? Remember Lee Haney go, you won't be big like me. He says, take, this Mega Mass 9000 crap. So every idiot in the world went out and bought this giant bag. It's a 12-pound bag. Maltodextrin. He started drinking shakes. Just fucking going, like, and people keep gaining weight, but it's fat. It's not muscle. You're not gonna blow up like Lee Haney or any of these fucking guys. You kidding me? I know. I read this story one time. Jay Cutler was doing some type of. He was sponsored by ProLab or whatever the fuck, Muscle Tech, and there's this Mexican guy bought like a, a 20 pack, like pouches, powders, whatever, with Jay Cutler on it. And he took the whole thing. After he took a month, he went through the whole thing. And he's like, how come I'm not as big as that guy? You don't know anything. That ain't from taking that shit, man, you fool. But that's what it is. It's a cell. It's a cell. Look at any of these the magazines. I used to watch. I used to read them religiously. And Weeder's Flex magazine, where it's all ads. And it's like I remember when the pre-workouts started coming out, the nitric oxide, the NO. I look, man. I know NO, whatever you call it, whatever you want. But I remember, like in the late '90s, I remember that shit. The And this will lead me to the EAS and things. So, um, the NO2, the nitric oxide. I remember when it first came out, it was in thick pill form. Thick pill form, like it was the horse pills, and it was like this block of like, literally you could use it as chalk for like a chalkboard, a blackboard, right? It was like these chalky horse pills, right? And I would take a hammer, I'd break them, just because I couldn't swallow it. And the thing was, like, there was this book. I think it was, I forget I don't remember the company because it's such a long time ago. It was in the late 90s that it was like, it came like you buy the thing and you get this book. It's like 20 pages, maybe a little bit more, for free. And it's like scientists, talk about the new 21st century way of bodybuilding, the NO2. So, of course, like a sucker, I go ahead and I buy the pills. You get the free book. I think I was able to get the book for free before I bought it, but yeah, I was just, of course, the book, it's just to sell you. It's just to get you to buy this shit. So, I'm reading, and these guys are going, oh yeah, using these terms, it's scientists using these terms, vasodilation, opening up the blood vessels. You can get big. It's just a way, like, you take these, you work with your workouts, strenuous, eat good, get rest, and take the, it sounds like Hulk Hogan, say your prayers, drink your milk, and take your vitamin. I'm sorry, like, I'm laughing because you see, I lived it all. I've been through it all. So, okay, yeah, so the NO2 bullshit. So, like, they're using, the scientists using the terms vasodilation, and like, take, it's going to open up, it's going to open up the arteries, so you more nutrients, you can drive more nutrients into the muscle belly, so you get big. So I was like, whoa, yeah, like, you, yeah, dumb, of course, stupid like I was. So I went ahead and bought it, right? And I remember hammering, trying to break those brick pills, trying to hammer. And I'm going through this shit, I'm like, God, this stuff isn't, it's like, God, it tastes like chalk, right? But there's a saying, I'd eat dirt if I could get big, whatever. I can make gains. So, no, there was nothing happened, it's all bullshit. So, and then I remember, like, the years, couple of after, like, was it 2000, early 2000s, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. I remember, like, this company Pinnacle. Now there was a shift. There was, you would see, like, because Andro, they were coming out there pushing that Andro. Because remember Mark McGuire and the Sosa thing, that was '98. So a couple years after, they have like these Andro poppers and stuff. And I was, you gotta understand, I was maybe um, close to 30 years old, maybe about 30. And I was very hesitant because I said, my sex drive was good. It still is. But if it was good now, can you imagine what it was like when I was 30? It was a lot. It was fine. And I started learning. I said, well, they say if you take this stuff, it's gonna stop your natural testosterone. I said, whoa. Well, the second I heard that, and then I heard a ball shriveling, and I said, isn't it, you need like estrogen blocker, PCT to get your normal testosterone. I went, no, 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 I'm not fucking with that shit. Why? I was scared. Like, I was fucking. So I never tried any of that stuff at that point, because I was like, you're not gonna get you really huge. I said, oh, the more testosterone you have, the bigger the body you can build. And I kind of just bear with the train is leaving Union Station. So, I just didn't want to take any of that stuff. Now, how this ties into around that time in the late '90s, about 2000, whatever, late '90s. Bill Phillips, he's a came up with this company, Experimental and Applied Sciences, EAS. Unless you're really kind of OG, you wouldn't know what it is. It's that long ago already. Um, 20 years is a long time ago, but it's over 20 years ago. But he said something that was very interesting. He goes, he would go to these bodybuilding shows, local shows, and something. There's like barely anybody in the crowd or something. And he's like, there should be a contest for the people in the in the crowd. That's where the real, the people are. It's an interesting idea. And so what do you mean? It's like, well, he basically changed the idea of what bodybuilding was or is supposed to be. See, people go to these bodybuilding shows, they want to see the freaks, and like as I mentioned earlier, at the time, at the turn of the century, Eugene Sandow would be considered, well, not really a freak, but maybe because, there was nobody like that, really. So you have to understand, like it's for, that people go to see something like that's really extraordinary, abnormal, weird, that's what a circus thing is about. So he basically came up with this idea for a contest. Now he came out with this line of supplements, and at that time, metrics was around. They were starting to, this protein powder used to be very bland. I remember, like in 1990, I was tasting some of the stuff. There was like vegetable protein tastes like garbage. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. But toward the late 90s, metrics, it started to taste fairly good. Like there was a lot of protein in there, and it wasn't the sugar. I mean, well, not really, but it was just they knew how to modify so it was drinkable. But the metrics, it was still like very chalky. Like people didn't like that. They wanted smooth. Now this stuff is like, forget it. But back then, you have to understand. Um, so Experimental EAS came out with their line, and it caught on. Like it was pretty good. But what really took them over the top was how they promoted their company. They're based out of Colorado. And the Broncos, I think, even won the Super Bowl. It was like Shannon Sharp was promoting EAS, and they're giving all the players that, and they were performing well. So like, wow, what are these guys taking? It's like, well, probably taking other shit too. But so anyway, the Bill Phillips had the idea for like creating this 12-week transformation where you take a before and after picture of yourself, like with a newspaper or whatever. 12 weeks later, make this either it is to lose body fat or gain muscle. Maybe for women to get in the best shape that they can, whatever. And there was a VHS. He made a documentary of like these 12 finalists called Body of Work. You might be able to find it on YouTube. But I remember, like, to give you an idea of how cool this guy was, if you just wanted a free copy of the movie, of the tape, you call like an 800 number and they send you a free copy. They pay for the postage, everything. Okay? I mean, they were that committed to, fitness stuff. I remember they sent me 3 or 4 copies of it. I bought their supplements. I like the company. So what you saw was like, I don't want to give away the ending because if you watch the movie, it's a documentary. It's worth watching. I think he eventually sold the company for like a couple $100 million or something like that. But my point was that he redefined, or he actually re-enlightened, not redefined, because again, most people's idea of what a bodybuilder is probably is to this day, most people, because people forget. They're these huge freaks or whatever like that, or these classic guys that they might not look like they're huge, but if you see them in person, these guys are fucking, they're fucking big as fuck, okay? Um, they are, because it's all like what they're taking. And I'm not going to get into this dumb argument. Well, it's not all steroids. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is. Okay. You could train, so if you know how to train, you can eat if you know how to eat. You're not going to be on a stage like that and have, without any performance enhancing, without the PEDs. No, 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 no. So but these people love to defend themselves like they're stupid. Like, well, if I just took that and I didn't train and eat. Look, man, I don't know. I still think those chemicals are so powerful that it's not, your training doesn't have to be par excellence, or you're taking stuff that's so strong, like that. I mean, I can only imagine what I would look like if I was on that stuff. I can only imagine. So, I'm like 180, and for me to gain 10 pounds, it's it's fucking hard. It can be done, but I mean, it will be. But it's like, it ain't like you're talking with these guys. Okay, I watched this thing with this black guy, this behemoth, and it's like fooling people. Think, wow, look at that guy working out. He's in the Venice Beach. He's like lifting weights. He's lifting. That ain't from lifting weights, fool. That's from fucking taking. I'm not saying he's not lifting too, but don't, do not. Most people are fooled. They think, wow, look at that guy. He's lifting weights. He's lifting weights. And they always ask him, they go, man, how long? I've been lifting for 30 years, man, 40 years. Yeah, you know what? You've been taking too, so don't, you can't fool me. I'm way beyond it's not because I have a master's degree in phys ed. It's because I have decades of knowledge, like accrued, of most of these people, like they're big. I mean, yeah, I see poor form. I see, like, they know how to take is what they know how to do. A lot of people don't even know what they're doing. I mean, if they were really training under a real master, like I know that Chris Cicito guy, how many Olympia guys he's trained. He knows what he's doing. That's why. So, that's all. I just wanted to get that out of me because, and I watch some of these clowns. They get thrown out of Gold's Gym. That they going there and they're looking for trouble and they wonder why they get thrown out. They can't fathom what they're doing wrong. Well, you're not. They don't want that atmosphere there. They're not looking for guys to come in there and make problems and stuff like that. And a lot of these guys, they just don't know any. Their egos are so big. And someone said something to them, they go, what'd you say about me? You still talking? You still talking? And these fucking guys, they just can't, they're so like indoctrinated and brainwashed into like this low life way of thinking, and then they just can't fathom why like nobody respects them. Because you if you act like a clown, then you will be treated as such. And what I mean by acting like a clown, like you're you know you're going in there bullying people, around. It's not a jail. It's not a yard, like, to where, like, and again, even there, it's guys think basically they're tough because they did time. And I have news for you. You're stupid is what you are. You're not smart because you did time. You're dumb. And you're lucky that you're able to live in a free society. So so I like it how these guys, they think like they're gonna go in there and they're gonna, what'd you say about me? What'd you say about me? Like whoever says something like they're so their egos, yeah, they're big as a house, right? But their egos are as fragile as an eggshell, as thin as an eggshell. Like I could say one thing and they could get so mad. So it's like I could crack through their brain like it's nothing. So isn't it amazing? They don't have a strong mind. They have a strong body. Now you're supposed to, like the Greeks said, to build a body builds a strong mind, as far as resistance. But it's not, their brain is not strong when it comes to like being able to handle human interaction. And that's the real secret, is not allowing people to get under your skin. I know it sounds so cliche and so easy. It's it takes a real master, because they say the chickens talk, right? Eagles fly above, but look, there's so many chickens out there, and I don't care how you can be big and everything, but you are a big chicken. Is basically what you are. And I don't mean like scared running. I mean it's like stupid, like there's these people. That's what I listen. I watch it. And I say, man, this guy is just a these guys are retards. Like they just are, and they're wondering why they're not allowed to go into here, there, not allowed to, because they don't want you in there, man. And you know what? Some of these idiots, they got millions and millions of views on YouTube. And I sit there saying to myself, I know 100 times more about fitness, about hitting target muscles, about how to train and everything. And I never took any steroids. And all these clowns, they're getting all these views. I see this giant Mexican guy's like 320 pounds. These guys don't know. These guys don't know nothing of nothing. I'm very sorry to say they know nothing of nothing compared to me. Now I'm not saying I know everything of everything, but it's just amazing. They get like millions and millions of views, and like, I've never had anybody really come up to me and say, hey, how do you do this? Like, can you train me? Like, I want to learn. I mean, of course, none of these guys have doctorates in kinesiology or masters in phys ed or nat. You know what they would look like without the steroids? It would look like absolutely nothing. Nothing. I mean, it's hard to fathom. But look at Paul Dillette before and after. Look at his picture. Of course, he's retired. He doesn't train anymore. But still, my point is, the shit that these guys are taking are extremely powerful compounds that they blow you up. It's not, you're being fooled if you think that these guys are like they're doing skull crushers with 315 or whatever they do. Yeah, it's the gear. They found an outlet, a cool doctor or through a friend to get that shit. They're pushing the pin, whatever. That's it. That's all it is. Your body, there's no fucking way. Now it is possible. Like I knew this guy, Big Craig. He's a he was like what, maybe 6'4". I don't remember. And even due to his genetics, you know, eating like when he got to like 250 naturally. It's possible. It's possible. Like, and you working out all the time before you even took any gear. So there are exceptions. But again, there's an immense difference between naturally getting to 250 at 6'4", 6'3", or 6'2", and getting a 300. I mean, it's an immense difference. So by taking, of course, Okay, so let me talk about why I called this episode "Cream of Shit." Um, wow, I'm eating a lot of stuff training. Ugh, man, I did like legs 3 days in a row. Um, but I think was it Frank Zane, talked about this being more of the chemist, the scientist kind of thing. Train legs 3 days in a row, but not do the same exact thing. I always warm up with quad extensions, leg extensions, a couple sets, 2 to 3, maybe 4, and at least 3, not more than 2. But so I'll do lots of variations of things. I remember there was a trainer who passed away, Charles Poliquin. He has a German training system of 10 sets, like 10 sets, and I try like variations of that, like I'll do, but for me, I'm more of into volume training. Now there's this guy, I call him like the bearded barbarian. I forget, he's quite knowledgeable on YouTube. I forget, that's not his handle, but it's this guy, like he's got this trimmed beard, you'll see him on there. He's very knowledgeable about training. And he says, you're having, your legs ain't growing. He goes, you know, your legs are not growing. Take the Olympic bar, put it on your back, and do 300 reps. And he was trying to do 3 sets, 100, 100 reps, 3 sets. I So I tried, I couldn't do it. I did the 300 reps, but it took me more than 3 sets. Um, I remember like I did like, the first set 50, second set 40, the third set 30, and then I was able to go back. Maybe it took me 7, 8. But I cranked out 300 reps. I counted them, and I remember my back started to hurt. Toward the end, but I did them. I did them, and I understand. I used to say, I said, well, you're doing such light weight, your legs are not going to get big from doing, but you see, contraire move for, like you're getting what you're doing by volume training, even with quote unquote lightweight. You have to understand it's still 45 pounds of pressure going up and down, and it's 300 reps is quite a bit. So it's getting in there. It's getting into all that, all the areas. In your glutes, like in your thing. So, and for somebody, like I'm just not built for power, you kind of, you have to build nevertheless, but you have to build on your foundation or on your strengths. Somebody that's a skinnier, 6'1" plus, somebody like that, their muscle bellies are going to be different than somebody that's 5'7" or 5'9". So, it takes a different approach. And it's like on the hack squat machine, there's like, on the one that I use at my gym, there's 2 different levels. And I was using the higher one, and I was saying, man, the distance is too far. So what I did was I used the lower level, and I'm able to cut down the distance of travel. And I noticed a lot better results from it. Let me kind of reinforce this. So, in this same guy, this barbarian guy, this intelligent barbarian, he doesn't lock out, when he does a regular squat. He stays in the zone. Now, toward, if you think you can get a couple more and he's winded, it comes up, locks out, his knees out, catches breath. I do that all the time. But the key, like if I can, before I start like doing front squats with the Olympic bar, let's say in my mind, I say, all right, I'm going to go for 15 reps. Crank out the 15. I'll come up and catch a breather. I said, if I can do any more, then I'll do a couple more. So this generic, it's like a generic way of thinking. Work your muscles, not your joints. A lot of people don't know. They just don't know because they're not well read. They don't have years upon years upon years of trial and error of things that work. And look, man, I blew out my knees. My knees are pretty much okay now, but what happened was years ago, maybe 7, 8 years ago, I was trying to come up with unique leg training exercises that I said, how can I get some real mass on there? Like what? So I'm watching Ronnie Coleman doing lunges, the way. Now, I use relatively lightweight, but I did tons and tons and tons and tons of lunges. And all of a sudden, one of my knees, I blew out my meniscus. I could barely walk. I went to doctors and they go, well, you got a worn out meniscus. You're going to need it. And so he said like a flat tire or something like that, he told me. And I basically stopped training altogether. It was that scary. And, after a couple months, I was able to walk again. I was fine. And I said, I'm abandoning that exercise. And then I started thinking about it. I said to myself, let's look at the exercise. Like you've got the bar on the back, whatever, and you're lunging, like basically all the pressure is being put on your knees. You're getting something in your legs, your quad, in your ass, you're getting some, but most of the pressure when you're lunging one knee at a time forward, that's all knees, man. That's all fucking knees, and I basically, grinded myself into the ground doing that. So I sat there, I said, now, of course, any type of leg exercise to get in there, you're going to have to, your knees are going to have to work because it's, but again, it goes back to what I said, to work your muscles, not your joints. You got to try to figure out a way to get in to the muscle bellies with the least amount of pressure on your knees. That's the fucking thing. Now, stuff like the leg press, for me, I've seen the one, you know, in my gym. They have a couple different variations of leg presses, but they all suck. I've tried them all. Um, you know, well, there's, you know, the thing is, there's this utility machine. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a U, and I'll get on the ground, and it has like up to 5 settings, you know, and I'll get, you know, Mike Menser talked about, you know, when you're doing leg press, get your ass, get in there as close as you can to where your knees are almost like, you know, in your face, you know, and just, you know, push forward. Um, Again, don't lock out your knees and do sit rep after rep. The machine is not really that heavy at all, but I'll do like, you know, sets of like 50, 40, you know, like I compared it to a machine that's seated vertical, where you're just pushing straight out. Um, and I remember you know, they have it. I only put 100 pounds on there. I know it's like sounds like nothing, but I try to do like 60 reps, and I felt like even that was heavier than the machine that I was using. Um, that's shaped like a U. It's like a utility multi-purpose orange. It's like a orange type U. You know, I don't. There's no name for it. You know, it's just they have it in my gym, and I'm like the only one ever using it. Um, because for some reason, I use it for like hamstring extensions. You know, like where you basically just kick back, and I seem to get great results from it. Um, Now there's also the leg press where it's like a diagonal, it's a 45-degree angle, and then you sit in, you're elevated, and you push up. I've seen people using that. I've seen there's this one guy, like he had a trainer, he had 3 wheels on each side, maybe four, like 230 pounds, and he did like 12 reps, and he was like, I could hear the noise. You know, I wasn't that far away, but he was like, "Oh my God!" And he goes, "That's the most I ever did, like leg press, 230 pounds for like 10 reps." And the guy's legs were like chicken legs. You know, he was nothing. And I didn't want, you know, of course, I'm not going to say anything. I don't even look. I mean, I just look just to, you know, if somebody's making that much noise. How are you not going to look? Let's see what the hell is going on. You know, it's a natural human instinct to, as Yiddish, they say, to give a kick, to take a look for, so what the hell is going on here, you know? But you know, the key is to maintain your focus and why you're at the gym. I don't go to the gym to look at dudes make noise. It can be a little distracting when there's some hot chicks, you know, that are in your proximity because they're beautiful women. I mean, how can you not, you know? But I am there, you know, as Warrior Junior to make the best version of myself, and you're not going to make that best version by looking around at other things, not focusing on what you're doing, and not maintaining a serious demeanor, you know, serious focus to. Um, okay, so anyway, as I mentioned, I did legs 3 days in a row. Now I tried something that we have 2 sleds, you know, that you can, and they sled, and I took like this. They have this thick rope, and I said to myself, I can somehow get the rope like over my shoulder, and I can walk with the sled, like pulling it. But I couldn't figure out, you know, it just wasn't practical. You know, I, I tried to, like, you know, I wrapped the thing around, and I was able to like walk, like pull the rope as I'm, you know, walking backwards. I noticed I was getting, you know, it was kind of working my calves. Now I don't do really any calf work because my calves are pretty good. You know, and I feel like the type of calf raise machines they have in my gym are inferior to what is needed, which is a bent over. You need to get your back bent over. Uh, sorry, horizontally, where you can get pressure on your back in a way that you can get your soles of your feet like on a platform, something that where I know I'm going to try to describe this the best way I can. You know, like I'm not a fucking scientist, but now imagine, let's say you can get the weight on your back, right? You know, if you're bent over, you know, at this where your back is flat, right? And you could take the plate, get it on your back, and get it as high up to the top of your back as possible. Now, if you can get to where your feet are, like, you know, there's got to be some way that you can you know, get that dip in there. See, like if you're on a flat surface, you can only go up. You see, you can only raise the balls of your feet up like this. But if you can get your half your feet on a thing where, you know, you can get down, you can get more of a stretch in your calves. I guess you can visualize that. Now, I couldn't find at my gym. I couldn't find something where I can get down and up, but I can get the plate on my back, 45-pound plate. Now, if you had somebody there to help you, maybe they could somehow hold maybe more weight on than a plate. Maybe they could put two or maybe three or more, and you could find that you could really get, you know, like Arnold was doing donkey calf raises. He would get somebody to get on his back and do it. He knew. He knew. To try to explain this to my friend Alex, who's, you know, talks about he's trying to find interesting, you know, like calf work. So to try to impart, you know, um, what I'm thinking to him. You know, it's good to help people if you can. You know. So I, you know, again, experimenting. So, you know, I'm watching, and we have like the Dexter Jackson calls it the death machine. Um, it's basically it's a squat where your back is against you know, it's a machine. It's things to hold your hands on, and you know, you release and you go up and down. Now, but I've seen people invert, you know, their body, you know, turn their body, and you know, and I found that doing it the opposite way, um, you're able to get really deep. You know, you're able to get further. Now, so this is kind of interesting, you know, because you know the legs are very complex. You know, especially, you know, above the knee. You know, the whole area, and I include the ass in that too. Anything below the waist and above the knee, the whole area. You know, there's like lots of different muscles. I mean, people like bodybuilders talk about developing the sweep. You know, the teardrop. You know the I know there's all scientific terms for the quads. There's four muscle groups in there: the quad four. So, you know, it's not just that though. You know, inside the hams and the sweep, the whole areas around that. And it's like, well, just do regular squats, or you know, that develops everything. No, it doesn't. You know, Vince Gironda talked about this. Said, you know, that's why you didn't have a squat rack in the season. It builds butts, not thighs. Um, he's, you know, he made a great point about that. But a lot of guys that have, you know, big legs, you know, they have big asses. I mean, that's big is big, right? Um, but you can argue with the Iron Guru, you know, like the guy. See, look at his pictures of him in his prime. People would pay that guy big money. Train Carl Weathers for Rocky, you know, like the, at the Studio City gym, you know. So you're not gonna, you don't argue with people that are, you know, of that knowledge, of that power. It just makes you look like an idiot, you know. Um, okay, so you know, I would do like I didn't do hack squats really ever. I got paranoid because I was scared because of my knee issues that I had, but my knees are good now. So watching like Tom Platz do, and you know, I noticed. I said, well, you know, he said this. You point your feet, your toes outwards, you know, like more diagonal, and it takes like all the pressure off the knees. You're doing more. You're hitting more of the quads instead of your feet are pointed straight. You go down, puts a lot more pressure on the knees. So I started pointing my feet outwards, and all of a sudden, I said, wow, okay, this is cute. And then yesterday, And I've seen people do the reverse, where basically they're turned, they turn their body around and they're face the machine, and their head is like in the padding, and they're going up and down with it. And I said, I've got to fucking try this. And it was very kind of like the first set or two. I really didn't like it for a second. I was like, yeah, this is very. But then something clicked in my mind. I said, whoa. I started noticing like a big pump. It was starting to get all in, like your areas of your like upper quad around by your sweep and stuff like that. I said, holy shit. I mean, this is one hell of a movement, to do. So I started doing set after set. I said, I'm going to fucking, I'm going to stick with this. Now, again, I just do just the machine. I mean, 25s on there, that's it. But the thing is, you got to put your ego aside with all this. A lot of guys, that's why they don't look. I train legs 3 days in a row. And, it's like, it's heavy enough for me. You don't have to look at these people lifting immense weights, like doing. I'm there for development, and I'm gonna go against what, like, Tom Platz said. Well, I only went to the gym twice a month to do legs because the intensity was so insane. You ain't taking the shit that guy was taking. I guarantee you, on some strong anabolics. I'm not on any of that. So there's an immense difference. Now, again, that stuff just helps you push, stuff like that, and intensity. But I have my own approach, and I think, what works good for my body, it works good for me. So I'm just gonna say that, like, there's good supplements out there. There's great nutrition. You can make naturally, and that's the argument. I'm not going to get into the argument about natural and non-natural, because there's shit you can get over the counter that the arguments are made that no, you're not natural. If you're taking anything, you're not natural. So whatever, Mr. Natural, the nature boy. Woo. Okay, so now I'll tell you why I call this the cream of shit. If you hung in there that long, I guess you deserve to know. So, in my quest to find nutrient-dense foods, I go to the market and they had this cream of wheat that was on sale next to the malto meal. And I said, let me give this a try. Like, it's simple. Just put water in it. It's real dense, and I go, this is, I'm willing to experiment with different types of good foods, like pancakes and stuff. I don't, you got to eat to get big. You got to be big to get eat, So I bought this. It was on sale. This cream of wheat. So, I had it. I made, and I read this thing and said, well, how much is calories? What's in here? So it's like, it says 3 tablespoons. No. I got to put, so I didn't fill up the whole thing, because I could tell it's real grainy. So, I put, the first time I made it, I just put water and a little water in there. And I noticed how the water soaks it up because it's so dense. So I nuked it. And I said, I need a little bit more water in there. So, it's kind of, and I ate it. It's like, oh, it's like wheat farina. It's not bad, So then, my hours of sleeping and stuff, I said, let me try, let have this again. And I really went for it this time. I didn't put half the box in there, but I said, I'm gonna make a big meal. I'm gonna make, let's go. So I put, here, I want to show you the size of the bowl that I use for this. Hold on a second. Hang in there. All right, so I use like this 20-ounce bowl for this. This is a Dixie, this 20-ounce bowl, right? Okay. So what is that? Hold on. shall return. I hope. I hope. Okay, so I use that 20-ounce bowl, and I fill up and I put the water in there, and I'm good at after I made it the first time. I said, all right, I made it pretty good the second time. I ate the thing down, and now before I ate it, like my stomach was kind of I don't know, I was getting a little gassy before. I said, who cares? I don't know what from the maybe protein drink that I've been drinking. The lean body one. Just your hours, my stomach. The hour when my hours are off, they get sometimes throws me off. Well, for some reason, this stuff really started to aggravate me. And boy, did it ever. Now, I've gotten diarrhea many, many times in my life. It's like a bad meal. Like a couple shits later, you're fine. But this was like the epitome. I was starting to get some real pains here. I was like, what the fuck? And I started gas. I mean, I was laying some monster farts. I mean, I was like really just, and I don't mind it because it's like, the whatever the gas is leaving the body. Now I was thinking of the reference in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, when Spock goes, gas, Captain, gas. So I know what Spock was thinking, but I mean, I still have a little, but it was like, my God, I mean, and the pain. I'm trying to like lay down and I can't, it hurts, your stomach was like aching, it was bad. I'm pacing around, just keep farting, keep like, good. And I can't eat nothing because like I'm scared, but I can eat when your stomach's hurting, so it's like, God, finally, like all day, I was basically just, until like around, I think this started around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then around like midnight, I started to feel a lot better. I was like, okay, fine. I'm still a little, I had a couple Dodger dogs. Those, I know there's a lot of sodium in those, but they're pork. It's like kind of nutrient dense. It tastes good, and it's not too dangerous. It's kind of light, just without no bun, nothing, just the Dodger dog. So that's why I'm having some tea right now. I'm just kind of waiting it out. But I took that cream of shit, man. I threw that shit in the trash. At first, I looked at the ingredients. I go, what the fuck is it? Why did it upset me so much? It's a wheat farina, the calcium something. I know I'm kind of prone to calcium issues with my kidney stones, but maybe it was just the amount that I had. I mean, now the bowl wasn't filled to the top. It wasn't. There was a decent amount in there, but I don't know what the issue was. I don't know, but my God, it really. I was in some. I mean, it was, whoa. I mean, for like hours on end, I was, and thank God I was just farting it all out. The pain, but it was just awful. But these things are going to happen. Like if you try to get big, trying to eat big. I'll never forget. There was a New Year's Eve. Oh God, I just don't want to remember. I can laugh about it now, but it's hard. Like you're eating so much and you're putting a lot of pressure on your body. Like it's just really. It's difficult, like you're like it's Dorian Yates said, this bodybuilding is always uncomfortable, gut grinding, like he made a great point, like and see, I know why, like Arthur Jones developed the Nautilus line, there's these machines because he wanted these things. First, they were initially developed for the sickly, like people recovering in a hospital, like something where if you're rehabbing from, an injury or old elderly people, you can't imagine the 80-year-old grandma trying to lift a You know, there's no, the barbell or something like that. No, there's, a machine that, you know, a machine that you can just push up. If you can't do it, then that's it. If you can, that's all it is. It's not, you don't have to worry about balance or anything like that. Now, light dumbbells, 3 pound dumbbells, 5 pound dumbbells. You see older people, like, okay, like lift and up. That's light, but the machines were there for a reason. But most people use it because it's comfortable. It's not difficult. Now, the logic, the argument can be made. Well, if it's hard, then it means it's the right way. Um, yeah, it depends. It depends. Like, I use a combination. This is most people, the combination of free weights and machines. You know, as I just mentioned, that reversing on the hack squat machine, and it got in there, I was like, wow, I'm all for development. I'm not there to argue about, no, 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 I only use barbells and dumbbells. I don't use machines for the sick, like there's people that, and then there's people that won't do that because now there's some people that are older that they can really injure themselves doing, look, I do incline presses on a Smith machine, because I've never done, inclines on with a bar, just never have. So now with dumbbells, I have. I pressed 100 pound, 110 pound, 115 pound dumbbells. That's my record, on it, so, but I listened to guys talking and saying, hey, like if you're, I think one of the only ways is to get under the bar. And with me, because I've never done that, and I don't want to worry about balance or, not having a spotter, I'm going to get under the Smith machine and put the bench at 45 degrees, and I know how to do it. And I can do, put 2 plates on each side. I still call it 225. I know it's not the bar, because it's being held by something. It's not 45 pounds, but it is actually. So I don't care. What I care is the resistance, pushing as much as I can, and not worrying about, expending so much energy to get the dumbbells from here to here. I mean, that's what I noticed. I said, God, like you're, that. Now there's some people that are extremely strong. To them, 150-pound dumbbells are, relatively, doable and not extremely heavy. So, if they're that strong, I get it, but I'm not, so you got to work with what you have. You got to, I know you're watching like some of these guys, oh, I want to be like that, so I have to train like that. No, 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 no. You're not going to be like that. You're not going to be. You got to understand, guys like Ronnie Coleman, when it started, dude, I was in high school. That guy was already lifting 1990. These guys had a great foundation. Jay Cutler in high school could bench 400 pounds, maybe more. I think he did 500. Same age as me, okay? I could barely bench. I couldn't bench 100 pounds in high school. He could bench 500. He weighed 200 pounds in high school, okay? I weighed 110. Maybe I graduated, I was 117. Maybe. Not to say you can't be. I mean, I know there's pictures of Flex Wheeler. He was 100 pounds in high school. But don't discount the gear, the anabolics, man. Shit that these guys are taking. I never, so looking at people and what they're doing, they're showing you the exercise, but they're not showing you what they're taking, man. What they're really doing. They're showing you, oh, these guys are eating 8 times a day, but they're not showing you what else they're doing. They're not showing you the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention. So, it's like, I mean, I don't know. There's just no more I want to say about it. I mean, that's it. It's just, I mean, it's like you can't fault these guys for trying to make a living, because in bodybuilding and fitness, because one of the most difficult, things to do. I mean, it's so, you know, they're gonna protect their secrets to keep them out of harm's way. I mean, I guess it makes sense. That's a yeah, a cream of wheat's in the trash. So that's gone. I had, the spaghetti that I kind of like. They make this veggie spaghetti by Barilla. Pretty good. And they stopped carrying it at my market. So I was like looking for something else. And I was like, yeah, I like this. I don't like, I mean, regular spaghetti is kind of plain, but I like this. And so they had this red spaghetti, this red lentil by the same company. And it was like, the pack was like half the size. I go, what's the deal here? What is it? So I bought it. It was like $3. Like, wow, it's kind of a lot, but all right, I'll buy it. So I'm looking and I say, this is pretty high calories, and wow, so this is gonna be good. So I put in half the pack, half the box, and I go, you know, I'm used to eating close to a pound of spaghetti, and it's not even the whole pack's not even 8.8 ounces. So I said, let's make the whole thing. Fuck it. And I'm making it, and I'm looking at the package. It says it's red lentils thing. I said, oh, okay, vegetable, whatever. So that's great. So I noticed the texture. Like I'm spaghetti's getting all loose. I'm looking. I said, this is so different. Like it's not the same like a regular spaghetti here. It's something. So when it kind of got softer, I tried it and I go, wow, this is really like dense. I go, it's like really dense, like thick. And it's not because the noodles haven't softened up. It's just the composition of of what it is. It's not whole durum wheat flour or the vegetable puree, which is in the vegetable. It's just solid red lentil vegetable, whatever. So I drained, I put it all on a plate, and I started going to town. And I'll tell you, after like maybe a minute, I said, "Holy shit, this is so." There's no fucking way on the planet I'm gonna be able to finish this plate. I mean, this is the most densest spaghetti I've ever had in my life. I mean, I was full after like 25%. I couldn't even. I don't even think I ate 25% of what was on the plate. I mean, I literally threw out the whole thing. I couldn't. It was just too dense. I go, my God! No, I don't even like it. It tastes like the red lentil, which I don't. I guess I don't like that either. But I could not believe how dense that spaghetti was. I just could not. My God, like I was just wow. I mean, they should give an award if you can eat a packet of that. If you could finish up that they should give you. I mean, you Jesus. I mean, that stuff is like wow. So that's in my lifetime. That is definitely the densest spaghetti I've ever had. The red lentil by Barilla. Jesus Christ, it'll fill you up. Like just anyway, that's that. So I threw that out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just trial and errors, man. Trial and errors. All right. All right. I'll conclude on a funny story about New Year's Eve because I cut it off. It was maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more. It was a New Year's Eve, and there was this bar on Sunset called the Coach and Horses. I think it went out and went under. I think they trying to reopen or whatever, but it's Sunset down there by Genesee or something. And yeah, I had some friends that used to live near there, so I'd walk. New Year's Eve, no cover or anything. Let's go up there for New Year's Eve. So I said, I'll meet you guys up there. I'm doing my eating, my regimen. So I had like a pound of spaghetti, and I remember I went to the market. I got like these little cocktail shrimp, small ones. Because spaghetti's boring, and I don't like the sauce put on it because it's a little too much for me. So I just put like the shrimps in there and all around, the butter, whatever, and just mix it all up. So I powered it down. And now, I went up to the coach, for the midnight. So around like I go up there, and I guess for some in my stomach, I said, man, I gotta take a shit, like I ate so much, and the place is like packed, they got like a small bathroom, but it's not, it's like they got one stall and a urinal, but this place is like, it's around like 11:30. This place is, on New Year's Eve. So I said, I gotta get out of here. So I walk out the door and I'm thinking, okay, where do I go? Where do I go? And I went looking at all the places that are closed that are down. I found like this Chinese food place, and I guess they were so. I didn't even ask. I just went in there. I was able to get in the bathroom. By the time I got in the bathroom around midnight, so by the time the ball dropped, so did my dump. I was fine after that, but I'll never forget that. I was in the shitter on New Year's Eve. Unbelievable. Stories from the Warrior Junior archive. You will only hear it here. Anyway, on that note, I watched a special on Deep Blue. There's a Kasparov thing. It was like 2 hours. I used to be a serious chess player, so believe me, you could be serious, but not like that good. And I mean that good. It's like I played against masters. International masters experts, top class A players. These guys are really fucking good. And they're real serious. I mean, it's just, it's like they play for fun, but they're not playing for fun. Like it's like that. If you can put that together, they're just, they play like there's a serious money, like there's serious, I mean, I played cards for what I would consider real money, pots in the thousands. And, people got mad when they lost, kind of, but they played as serious as they could, whatever, with their cards, that's it, it's variables, the card comes out, oh, you got it, but it's not like in chess where these guys, sit there and just like, I mean, in a long game, I've watched these guys, they will fucking sit there like to an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours on for one move. Like they're sitting there. I mean, that's like, so, and this is like in front of somewhere, there's no real prize to be won. Like money is, it's arbitrary. It's nothing, compared to the money that I saw in poker. Now, the thing is, easy come, easy go. So I'm not, trying to promote, oh, you should play cards instead of chess, because I lost all my money playing cards eventually, so I really didn't lose money playing chess because I didn't play for money. So, it just depends what, and that's the reason I got into chess was, because I wanted, I guess, something that I could, a hobby that I could get better at. But, what's going to happen is, when you get to like around the 1800 level, it requires some serious, study and like learning and you start questioning, oh man, I mean, some serious work, like, and a lot of people are just not willing to do that. Or they delude themselves, like this one guy that I know. He's a nice guy, everything, but he thinks his quest for mastery, he has no idea. He has no idea. Like he'll eventually find out the hard way. And I'm not saying that to like belittle him or punish him, but I have, I played 150 tournaments. It's not just I played tournaments. I met everybody. If there's anybody, I've seen them all. I know, and I know exactly what guys have gone through to achieve a level of mastery or higher, and it's an immense, it's, they don't just hand it out. They don't hand out the medals for nothing. You know, the real like it's you know, like in anything, it's serious competition. You know, people they belittle my tying in a national championship, even though it was like an intermediate section. But it was what I went through for that was I talked about it before. It doesn't matter. But yeah, only you know the journey you've gone through, really. So, with that being said, till next time. Hope you learned something from this Warrior Junior